So as long as I've been in business, VA loans and the opportunity for buyers to use is a great tool that I think is way underutilized. One of the reasons why is there's a world of difference between a loan officer who happens to do VA loans on their rate sheet and one who does VA loans for a living. Today, I came across Danny Leung, who does VA loans regularly, military home loan specialist. I'm excited to share them today. Danny, thank you for joining us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Bill, for having me.
So real quick, where are you located geographically?
We are located in San Diego, California.
Ooh, beautiful.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in the loan business?
Well, me personally, I started at the end of 2021. So got through the whole year of 2022, a really crazy and difficult year. But still, I managed to do quite a few loans and transactions. I did about a dozen with my sales manager, who's also my mentor. And then another 5 so far on my own. I actually closed one yesterday. Won them over from, thank you. Won them over from another lender that was just telling them what they wanted to hear. And sometimes there's these lenders that tell them, okay, yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Yep.
And then when it gets to underwriting, oh no, we can't do that. We're going to have to change the terms. Yep. So was able to win them over back to us. And even despite the changing of lenders, and he actually was shopping us with 3 other lenders, we still managed to close on time and save.
Amazing. So what was it that prompted you to focus in military home loans?
That's a great question. So this was actually something that the company wanted to specialize in 18 years ago. They were founded by Ken and Karen Bates in 2004. And actually, Karen has written a book. You can find that on Amazon. And they were a Navy couple, and they had been looking around to buy a home, and they couldn't find a lender that really understood the VA loan. So they managed and stumbled through that.
Classic.
Yeah. And then they decided, you know what, let's start our own and really do a deep dive and figure out what the VA loan is, the ins and outs of it, all the nuances that come with it. And today we have monthly lunch and learns, and now they've gone virtual as well, so we can extend it to the whole country to learn about the VA loan. And there's at least a dozen myths and misconceptions that we want to raise the awareness of about the VA loan. And then also tips and strategies on how to get those VA offers accepted.
It was hard in the up to last year when values were going up so quickly, and VA appraisers can be a little stricter, and or by definition, if your plan is put no money down or limited money down, by definition, if the appraisal is less than the sales price, creates a problem that can't be resolved. Right. Now with values flat, in some cases coming down, it's ideal time to open up the opportunities for VA loans as well. That's why I jumped when I met you and heard your presentation. I just jumped on and said, I need to share this with my tribe. Let's talk about the things you can't do. What kind of, because as a listing agent, I know the limits on an FHA loan, but we also have 2 or 3K rehab loans and 2 or 3K loans that can kind of get around that a little bit. Talk about what's the condition of the property have to be for a VA loan as opposed to a conventional property?
That's a great question. And so basically there is a myth or a misconception that, the property's got to be perfect and maybe even have like upgraded windows, floors, and whatnot. It doesn't need any of that. Basically, the guidelines say that it needs to have MPRs, or minimum property requirements. It's got to be safe, sound, and sanitary. So is it going to be safe for a 2-year-old, a 92-year-old, or anybody in between? Is it going to be safe for anybody? If there's a floor, why am I afraid that my foot is going to go through it? If there's a roof, all houses have roofs and everything, right? If it's not a skylight, well, then how come I can see the sky? That's not good. If there's a wall, why can I see my neighbor's yard and that he needs to do his lawn, for example? So it's got to be structurally sound. It's got to be safe. And then, of course, it's got to be sanitary. And we're not talking about mother-in-laws coming over for dinner. It's got to be sanitary. It just can't have things like mold, mildew, things that are major health hazards. So if all those things are already met, then we're good. Then we can loan on that.
So the process to discover that on a VA is you have a separate appraiser, a VA appraisal list who does a VA appraisal as opposed to conventional list. And then if they find things as a problem, do they also review inspections? Do they require inspections, or how else would a VA loan differ in discovering any potential defects?
That would be like an inspector. An inspector would look at defects, and if they see, especially if they see things like a water stain or whatever, then let's call that out. Let's see if maybe that was a leak that was already repaired, but they didn't paint over it. So that shouldn't be a problem. They should go right over it.
My question is, does a VA do a separate inspection separate from the appraisal, or is it just things that, how would you know if there was a problem in a property on a VA loan? Is it just the VA appraiser would notice it, or does the VA require an additional inspection?
It should be an additional inspection. Well, that's something that we will recommend. Yeah, definitely you want to do an inspection, but we do.
Sure, but does if there's inspection done, does the VA review the inspection? Because in a conventional, we don't give the inspection report to the conventional appraiser or the conventional underwriter. On a VA loan, do they get a copy of the inspection?
I'm not really sure. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't
that's
think so
something
either.
I don't think so.
It's just the appraiser is really noting things and maybe looking a little more carefully than the standard appraiser would be.
Yeah. Now I got you. Now I'm following you. That's something I can always follow up with my sales manager. He knows a little bit more of those details, but I'm pretty sure that's not something that appraiser is going to look for. They usually do their work like at a desk, and the thing about, like, at least with the appraiser or the VA appraisal, is that we can do a reconsideration of value.
Right.
And we've done that before. We recently had one where we got an adjustment of value of, like, I think 150,000.
Wow.
So they were like way under. And so because of that, we're able to save the deal instead of, oh, okay, well, we're low, you're going to have to come up with a difference somehow. So because of that, we were able to save the deal. And that's something that's unique to the VA loan. You can't really do that in conventional.
Well, you can. There's no formal process, and which means you really can't. But you're right.
Yeah.
How are the rates on a VA loan versus a conventional loan? How do they compare?
They're generally a little bit better because the VA loan has a 25% guarantee. It's the only loan that is guaranteed by the federal government. And what that means is, let's say you have a property that is 800,000 in San Diego. That is kind of typical. You can find properties at that price range, and the veteran who buys that home was 100% down. I'm sorry, 100% LTV, 0 down. But then they default on the loan. Now that is pretty unlikely because the default rates on the VA loan are pretty low. So let's just say that they do default on this loan. And now we have to take back the home. And in the meantime, that property value now has dropped down 25% from 800 down to 600,000. So when we go to sell the property, we're now out 200,000. This is where we go back to the federal government and we say, hey, how about that 25% guarantee?
Right.
They cut us a check for 200,000 and we're made whole again.
Got it. So how about qualifying for a VA loan? If somebody's a veteran and they have difficulty qualifying conventional or FHA, is VA still an option for them?
Oh, sorry about that. FHA is also available for them.
But I'm saying they don't qualify for FHA or conventional. Should they still seek to see if they can qualify as a VA?
Yeah, they could. Basically, the thing that they need to look at for a VA loan is whether they've served in the military, like if they're active duty, if they've already done 90 days in wartime. And we've been in wartime since, I want to say 1990. So that's one of the qualifications. If they are out, if they're a veteran, they've served at least 2 years, that's another qualification. So we check their certificate of eligibility.
Right, their DD 214 is the
yeah,
form.
yeah.
I'll tell you a cute story about VA loans. I once I ran an office, a lending office years ago, and a client who was unhappy sued my company because one of my agents he thought did something wrong. And so that agent, of course, was gone. And that's kind of what happens when people give bad service, they change companies. And so as a manager, I was required to go to I was in Las Vegas to defend our company. And it was a FHA loan. And the customer had changed jobs 2 or 3 times. And he had, moved his money around, his down payment 3 or 4 times, hard to track. And he had marginal credit, but this one got paid off and that one. And it was one of those really, really complicated loans. And he was suing us. I don't think he deserved anything, but whatever. He just didn't quite fit in the FHA box. And the judge turned to him and said, well, what is it you want from these people? What, because I went through the loan and showed where he fell short. What is it you want? He said, I just want a loan. We found another house we want to buy, and I just want a loan, and I'm a veteran. I said, whoa. You're a vet? He goes, yeah, I'm a veteran. I served in whatever. I said, hold it. I don't care that you can qualify FHA or conventional. If you're a vet, I can make that loan, because my experience was all that's documented, fine. They're going to make the loan for you if you're a vet. Like, as long as you qualify, and you're not a deadbeat, right? You're going to probably get a loan through VA. And I know it's more complicated than that. There's more details than that, but that's kind of my experience with it. And so if you're a veteran and you've been turned down conventionally and you've been turned down FHA, and a lot of lenders, a vet goes to them and they'll say, well, the rates are higher, you should look at FHA, and then they decline you FHA and leave you hanging. And I remember that's too bad. It's a big mistake. My first job in the business was as a lender. We didn't offer VA loans, and I was working for a big bank, and customers would call and ask for VA loan. I remember one time, this guy, I said, I'm sorry, we don't do VA loans. He says, what? I'm a veteran. How come you can't lend me money? And he went on and on. And I said, we can lend you money. We just don't do VA loans. Wow, but I earned a VA. And I felt bad. I didn't choose that. The bank didn't offer it. But I will say to the opposite today. When somebody tells me they're veteran, I always say, did you at least check to see your status? And have you checked your DD-214? And have you explored that option? Because it just is a great way to get started in home ownership.
Yes, absolutely. And as you say, you mentioned the DD-214, that's for veterans. And the VA actually considers active duty. They call them veterans too. Right. And so if you're active duty, you qualify too. All you have to do is, like I said, mentioned before, is serve 90 days in wartime, 180 days in peacetime. But we've been in wartime since 1990. Right. So, 3 months, you're already in. Right. The only thing is, if you were dishonorably discharged, you don't even have to be honorably discharged. Honorably discharged or other than honorable, like general discharge, like medically discharged, you were broken by the military, and you weren't able to complete your tour of duty, you would qualify as well. Right. And then something else that people may not know is that this isn't a first-time buyer program. You actually can use the VA loan more than once. You can have more than one VA loan out at a time. And these are the things that we help to raise the awareness in the real estate community with our realtors and other real estate professionals, that there's a lot of myths and misconceptions, but when you understand the loan, then you can better serve the military.
Personally, I came not from a military family, in fact, somewhat anti-military. My father served, but had a very bad experience. And so I did not grow up supporting the military. My wife is the daughter of a retired colonel, and I came to understand what that means to be a military family. And I consider us a military family because we took her father's values and embraced them as a family and passed them on to my daughter and to her family. So I think it's important that we all understand that service is important. If we don't serve personally, that we have a chance to help those who did serve. And that's why whenever I have a chance, when somebody mentions they're doing work in the military or VA loans, my ears perk up and ask how I can help. So it sounds like I have real estate agents at a minimum, if not buyers, who need to find out about some of the misconceptions. If somebody wanted to learn more about your program or your workshops on how to do more business, how should somebody get in touch with you? Besides the QR code that's over your shoulder there, this is also on a podcast. How would people find out more information from you?
Well, that's a great question. So every month we have a lunch and learn. So if you're in San Diego area, you can come in person. And we just recently made it available virtually. So you sign on with a registration link. And in fact, if you scan my QR code, I have a link in there that I'm going to update every month to the upcoming seminar. So the one that we have upcoming is the end of this month, March 29th. It's going to be the last Wednesday of the year, or I'm sorry, the last Wednesday of every month. And it's a 2-hour deep dive into everything that you need to know about the VA loan, and then tips and strategies on how to get those VA offers accepted. Because, you know, even though you may know a lot about the VA loan, chances are you're going to come across a realtor that's like, I don't want to deal with VA loans.
All the time. All the time.
No.
You get that, right? And you got to teach them how to get through that and teach them the opportunity. And if you do, now you get your offer accepted where the other guy doesn't. That's why we're talking to you today.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sometimes they think, oh, 0 down. Oh, this guy must be broke. Well, no, you got to show proof of funds. Hey, in fact, he's going to give you a big earnest money deposit to show that he is serious. And we'll show you that this veteran has money in the bank for closing costs even.
Yeah. Well, Dan, look, I appreciate the information. I appreciate the chance to get more on your QR code there. Thank you for sharing with us military home loans and what you do, and look forward to working with you going forward.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate this call.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.